Welcome to our Professional Insights podcast. My name is Laurie Scher. I'm an active member of Dementia Action Alliance. Today I have the privilege to interview Dr. Elaine Eshbaugh. Dr. Eshbaugh is an associate professor of gerontology and family studies at University of Northern Iowa, where she's coordinator of their dementia education outreach program. She holds the Davis Professorship of Gerontology and chairs the Division of Family Services and Gerontology. She has a master's and a PhD in Human Development and Family Studies from Iowa State University and has more than 25 research publications in empirical journals. She's currently on the executive board of the Northeast Iowa Agency on Aging and has collaborated with various continuing care communities, adult day services, and hospices. She coordinates UNI's Memory Trunk program, which provides an empirically based approach to interacting with individuals who have Alzheimer's and related dementias. Dr. Eshbaugh maintains an active public speaking and community outreach schedule and does education on dementia for communities, families, and facilities. She often meets with families to provide support after a dementia diagnosis and writes a blog, which I absolutely love, called Welcome to Dementia Land. She prefers to be called Elaine for this interview. So Elaine, I want to thank you so much for joining our Dementia Action Alliance Professional Insights podcast. You certainly have an impressive background and I love your website.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Let's go to questions. And in your experience, which you have a lot of, what is the biggest misconception that people have about dementia?
I actually think there are two that really stick out to me. The first is that we think it's about old people. So we think dementia is 100% associated with that, bumbling grandpa who can't remember your name. The general public is usually pretty surprised when I tell them that we have people who are diagnosed in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and in our world today, that's incredibly young. The other misconception that I see a lot that is incredibly frustrating for me is that we think it's all about memory. We think it is absolutely all about memory. We think memory loss is the first, and oftentimes people think memory loss is really the only dementia symptom, when it is part of a constellation of symptoms. I speak to people who have dementia and have at this point, memory loss. So I think it's frustrating that we just equate dementia with memory loss, and we even emphasize memory in the name of services that are provided for people with dementia. So for instance, I love memory cafes, but still we have memory in the name, and we have memory care communities. And I think that just assists the public in kind of continuing with this perception that dementia is all about memory loss. I think another huge misconception that we have is just that the moment you leave a doctor's office with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, Lewy body dementia, FTD, whatever type of dementia it is, that suddenly, you walked in as a capable adult and you walk out as an individual who cannot make your own decisions, cannot participate in everyday life. I think that Dementia Action Alliance, to me, shows that we have so many capable, incredible people living with dementia who are committed to advocating for other individuals. We shortchange people with dementia in terms of what they're able to do, and I think that for me, one of the frustrating things is trying to represent. Yes, dementia is something that can be fatal, and knowing about all of the potential symptoms and how devastating those symptoms are, but also looking at living life and making modifications to the life that you live so you can still do the things that you love. So balancing that viewpoint is really difficult because most people I talk to, they either think dementia means, well, go home, stare out the window, a couple weeks you'll be in a nursing home, then you're going to be gone. Or they say, oh, it's just about forgetting names, and they kind of minimize it. It's just about grandpa who can't remember who you are. So I feel like we don't have, as a society, a really good balance in looking at what dementia is and the diversity of individuals who have dementia. I know someone who has dementia who ran a half marathon a few weeks ago. And yes, I do know people who have dementia who at this point in their journey are bedbound and they're approaching the end stage. But it's just this incredible diversity, and just the diversity of interests and talents that people with dementia have.
Awesome. I talked about your blog, and I'm going to just share what I said when I read your blog. First thing I did after I read your blog was I said, holy mackerel, she doesn't have dementia, but she gets it. She really gets it, which is so uncommon to see. And I want to talk a little bit more about why you get it. Tell me, how do you understand us?
Because you teach me. To be honest, I feel like one of my biggest strengths is probably, I do have the book knowledge, and I do read the research articles. And I think I was always kind of a nerdy scholar. I got my master's and I got my PhD. But when I look back to myself as a kid, I was a nursing home brat. My mom was the activity director at a nursing home. And my friends were people with dementia, and, they were toward the end stage, and they were amazing friends to me. So when I think back, they were my best playmates, because you know how kids step into different roles when they play, like, well, I'll be the cook and you be the waitress, or I'll be the teacher and you'll be the student. That's what I did all day with people who had dementia. And my mom was a single mom. She couldn't afford, childcare. So that's what I did. And, it really kind of gave me just an amazing love for this, this population. And when I say this population, sometimes I think we get into the habit of thinking these people with dementia, they're totally different from us, when they're really just people. They're not. But I feel like I had that comfort with individuals who had, really end stage dementia. And to be honest, it's only been in the past few years when I've been able to make connections with people who are more in the early stages and have a lot of insights that they are at this point able to share and to communicate with me. And that has been an amazing blessing to me. Just being able to have, friends with dementia who are like, hey, here's what I'm going through. So really, I don't think I have a lot of original thought. Basically, I feel like, when someone with dementia shares their story, with a group, maybe gives a presentation, I feel like, I can't compete with that. But what they're doing is they're sharing their own individualized experience. But what I can do is I take in all of these individualized experiences, and I can kind of summarize and take ideas from everyone else's experiences and try to throw them back out there and see if hopefully in some way maybe they can help someone. But really, I will be honest, I always tell people with dementia, I don't get it. And I'll be honest with you, I hope I never really get it. I hope I don't have dementia. If I do, I thank people who have it now who are advocating. But, I don't get it, but I feel like I really do try hard to understand perspectives as individuals with dementia. And I also go to talks from, neurologists, psychiatrists, pharmacists. So I try to combine a viewpoint of individuals who have dementia, plus those who have expertise in other areas, and see if I can combine that and maybe have a little bit of a sense of humor about it, because that's just kind of who I am.
That is awesome. You deal with a lot of people with a lot of different forms of dementia, and a lot of families. What concerns do you see among people with dementia? If I'm just newly diagnosed, what things do I have to expect? What are the concerns that you see most often?
One of the things that I see in particular are issues with to be honest, issues with friends and even issues with family. I know someone who is in her 50s who has dementia, and she said, the hardest part is not having dementia. It's how my friends don't know what to do with me. And they don't know how to talk to me, and they don't understand I'm the same. It's just, unfortunately, as a society, we still are uncomfortable around people who are associated with, oh, my light went out again, associated with that word. So one of the things that is frustrating to me is just that, when you tell your friends, I have dementia, I'll be honest with people, like, there are some individuals who are really going to come through for you, but there are a lot of people who are really going to disappear. And I think one of the things we need to do is, number one, focus on the people who stick around and focus on the new connections you make. You don't have a lot of time or mental energy to spend mourning these individuals who decide they can't deal with it. You ain't got time for that. So move on from those people. The people in your life, and they're not always the people you expect, right? The people in your life who step forward and want to be there with you, take in those people. And they may be people who they weren't in your inner circle before, let them in. There are ways to connect with other people who have dementia. Interesting thing about that, I live in Iowa, and if you live in maybe a rural area of Iowa, you might say, well, where am I going to connect with other people who have dementia? And so there are a lot of ways to do that using technology, particularly with Dementia Action Alliance. And the interesting thing about it is, if I tell other people about people with dementia can't use the internet, and they act like I'm a big idiot for thinking you could actually, access and have a conversation online. But I encourage you to connect with as many people as possible. And when you find someone who is helpful and supportive, focus on that person. And try to, I know it's hard, but just try to stop thinking about all of those people who can't handle it, because it is not about you. It is about them. If they can't deal with that, they don't deserve to be in your life.
That is awesome. And yeah, I think I've heard that once or twice before. In fact, it's common for people to say, like, she can talk. Yeah, I can. You deal with a lot of people who are in further stages, but also families who are dealing with people living with dementia. We've talked about what it's like for most of us when we're diagnosed, and we're basically told, go home and get your affairs in order, and that's about it. What would you tell people, families and people that have dementia, that maybe the doctors aren't telling them?
Well, I think that when I talk to individuals, I try to promote what I call realistic hope. And I know there are some people in the field, particularly people who are maybe trying to make money, and they want to promote what I call unrealistic hope. So that might be, if you buy this supplement, or if they take this particular medication that I've formulated, all these kind of, I don't want to say witchcraft, but kind of witchcraft money-making schemes, and they'll try to throw those at you. And that to me is unrealistic hope. But what I try to sell is realistic hope. And realistic hope to me, when it comes to dementia right now, is, I'm going to be honest with people. I'm very honest. I tend to be sometimes way too blunt. I tend to sometimes get myself in trouble. But if you have a dementia now, we're looking at a cure for different types of dementia. I would be shocked if it came during your lifetime. And I would celebrate that, but I would really be shocked. So what we're looking at for individuals who have dementia right now, and we don't talk about this enough, what we're looking at is continuing to be able to do the things that you love, the things that you enjoy, the things that are a priority. Can you do them in the same way? Not always. Maybe you can't do quite, as much of that. Maybe you need more breaks. Maybe you need more naps. I talk a lot when it comes to dementia about the concept of mental energy and mental fatigue. And I think that's one of the things that we're really missing in this conversation. We many times get frustrated with people who have dementia when we have put them in a situation where they are mentally fatigued and they're not doing great. And that's true for all of us, right? So you may be able to do the things that you want to do, but you're going to have to think about that. So it's important for you to make a big meal for your family. So me making dinner for people is really fatiguing mentally. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but it's totally true for me.
It's true for me. I'll say, I call it the dirty 4-letter C word. I hate it.
Okay, fair. So if you want to do that and you're someone who has dementia, you might look at that day and say, well, you know what? I'm not going to do anything until dinner time, until I start getting this together. I'm going to kind of take a break. I'm going to take an easy day, and then I'm going to save my mental energy for that. Or maybe, I don't really like going to the store anyway. I'm going to send my husband to the store. I'm going to make him this list, and I'm going to focus my energy on dinner. And what I always tell people is people with dementia we all have limited mental energy, but especially people with dementia have limited mental energy. You get to decide what you want to spend that mental energy on, and it's precious. So if there's something that you think is going to fatigue you, whether it is a family gathering, you might say, I'm going to go for a while, but I'm going to duck out early. And you don't have to apologize for that. You don't have to say, I'm so sorry, I have to leave early. You know what? You just get to leave. Just do it. So that's one of the things I think that we forget to tell people, or maybe we don't make it a priority to tell people at diagnosis, is there is some loss involved with dementia. I can't deny that, but there are many things that you can do as an individual to minimize the impact of that loss as you go along. There are strategies you can use, and I'm going to be honest, not everybody else is going to understand this. Maybe your spouse is going to kind of get it. Maybe they're not. Maybe you're going to have to teach them. Maybe your kids are going to get it, but maybe you're going to have to teach them a little bit as well. But you might just, and I know a lot of people who struggle to say no, but this might be a point in your life where you're going to have to learn, if you want to live your best possible life, you might have to say no to this so you can go all in on this, because this is what you really love to do. Those are some of the things I think we're missing when we talk to people about dementia at diagnosis. I think we also, I'll be honest, when I live in the Midwest, maybe in a big city, you find something a little bit different. But, when I talk about counseling, how many counselors really have a good basis to be able to work with people who have, I'm seeing a 0. Yeah. So honestly, that is up to people like me. I'm not a mental health counselor, but how can I get an in so I can educate these groups? And that's something that I can do. That's on me as an educator. So that is a group to me that needs tremendous education, because when someone's struggling, we always say, well, see a professional. Go to a counselor, go to a psychologist. But when you go in there and that person has no idea what you're talking about when you say dementia, it's going to do more harm than good. So those are the things I'm working on. And I need to try to get an into some of these fields so that they can assist people who are living with dementia.
That is awesome. I love your energy and your enthusiasm. We're almost out of time, but I do have another question for you.
Sure.
As I mentor people with dementia, I really encourage them to keep a journal. Write down your thoughts, write down bad days, good days, so you can look back on them, use them to show the doctor and also to help you remember things. There's many of us that have started blogging, but there's also many times that we get attacked by people because of the positive spin that we put on dementia. What would you say to people about that? And I say that because I know you've had people say some negative things about how positive you are. So what's your response to that?
Strangely, I've had people say I'm too negative. I've had people say I'm too positive. I think they're probably not reading every blog post. They're picking out a few. I don't know. Here's what I say to people who have dementia. This is your dementia, right? And I know there's a lot of preferred terminology out there. Like, I would never call someone a victim of dementia. I would never call someone a dementia sufferer. On the other hand, I would never call someone, just coming out of my mouth, I would never call someone a dementia warrior. And the reason I say that is because you get to define that. I don't get to define that. I'm not writing this story for you. So all I can say, to tell you the truth, is you are a person who is living with dementia. And if I read your blog and you want to say one day, you know, I feel like a victim, you get to feel like that, right? That you are writing the story. You know, and if you tell me that life is good with dementia, I celebrate that with you. And if there's another day when you're like, you know what, this really sucks, you get to say that as well. So people who would attack someone who is writing a blog about their own experience with dementia, they don't get it. And that's a funny thing, you know, and I've had this experience with my blog. That's the funny thing about putting things up on the internet is, you know, you get all sorts of comments, and I wish I could say I have a thick skin, but I don't. And really all I can do is represent my own experiences. And I got a comment once on my blog, and it was funny because the person said, you know, you're only seeing dementia through your own eyes and your own experiences, and you don't have dementia. Yeah, that's completely true. But Lori, you know what? You listen to other people and you chat with other people, but really you see dementia through your own lens based on your experiences of the people you know. So all we can do is represent our own experiences. And if other people have different experiences and they take offense, I don't know, can you block people? Just whatever. But I'm kind of over that, you know, and I think in this world, the world we live in today, with all of the negativity, just, I'm not talking about dementia, but just in general, all of the negativity that we live with in our world, I don't see how we can attack someone for being too positive. You know, bring that positivity home. You know, and it frustrates the heck out of me, because I think when you have dementia and you're willing to put yourself out there, I commend you absolutely 100%. And it frustrates me that anybody would be negative about your positive attitude. That's ridiculous.
Well, Elaine, I want to thank you so much for sharing your energy, your enthusiasm, and so much experience that you have. I will say that you are truly one of the most exciting and understanding doctors that I know. So I want to thank you for that. I want to also thank our viewers. If you enjoyed this Professional Insights podcast, please subscribe to our channel and share it with others. On behalf of all Dementia Action Alliance, thank you for viewing.
Beyond dementia, connecting our lives to help us survive, so we live our time to the fullest we can.